Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're watching this. Welcome back to the Since I Was Young podcast for all things heart of Midlothian news, chats, and reviews. Joining you, as always, is myself, Ewan Ramsey, and Alan Scrimger. We do both hope everyone is all well, and we would also like to start to say sorry as well for the past week or two that we've not been doing the podcast. So yeah, but we are back now, and hopefully that'll be things back to normal on a regular weekly basis. But like I said, we do hope that you are all good and well, and of course, why wouldn't you be? Of course, we didn't do a podcast for last week for the events that was the Scottish Cup semi-final, so I'm sure everyone is on a high from that still. And of course, to make things even better, we had an impressive win up in Dundee where Hearts were victorious 3-2 against Dundee United, which we will talk about in a wee bit. And of course as well, we will look forward to the next game in the split as such, which is at home to Ross County, and we will have a bit of a chat about that. So of course that is going to be your podcast for today, and as always we would like to start by asking, if you haven't subscribed to the Since I Was Young podcast by YouTube, please think about subscribing, smash that like button. As always, it is greatly appreciated. And if you want to get in contact with us via our socials as well, they're on screen and they will be also in the description: Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And if you want to get in contact with us directly, you certainly can. We're at sinceIwasyoung1874@gmail.com. And finally, if you want to get in contact with either myself or Alan via our Twitter pages as well, please feel free to do so. They will be in the description as always. So, Alan, how are you doing, mate? You all good, man?
Yeah, I'm all good. It's been a very rough couple of weeks. I people that know me obviously know that I'm currently, well, I have been in the middle of a flat move into my first owned property, which is quite scary to say it out loud. But anyway,
Scary, but so good though, man. So good.
Oh, I know. But then obviously coupled with that, I got hit by, I don't know what it was, some virus, I think, not COVID, thankfully. But I think it was maybe karma for laughing at Hibs, to be honest.
Oh,
So
nothing is ever karma for laughing at them, mate. So you're all good there. You're all good there. But just while we're on the topic, because of course, like, we didn't get a chance to actually talk about it. But we won't go into too much detail like about it. Like, of course, you and me sat down to watch the game as well. Obviously, I don't think the performance from Hearts kind of reflected the scoreline as such, but again, who cares? I think, like, like the 2 goals that we scored especially were unbelievable from that. And I think, like, in the longer term, in terms of how we've been as a team, how we've been like that kind of solid unit as such, I think, like, on the day we probably didn't deserve to actually go through, but I think, like, throughout the whole season, I think to have a final to look forward to, I think, is more than well deserved. And to even top it off with putting our lovely neighbours into the bottom 6 as well was absolutely delightful.
Yeah, it was. I think it's funny because obviously, like you say, we sat down and watched the game together, and then I watched it again the day after, I think, or a couple of days after. And then obviously that was in anticipation of doing a podcast a couple of weeks ago, which we then didn't end up doing due to both of us just feeling absolutely rotten. But when I watched it again, I actually kind of looked back at it and kind of thought we weren't as bad as I thought to begin with. Like, I think it's funny, like when you watch, and I'll just be brief with this, but when you watch a game like live or in the moment, even if it's televised or in the stadium, you have different kind of emotions to it.
Of course,
and then I went, but I think because obviously watching it fresh, knowing that we'd won and we were through, I was like, right, I'm actually going to sit down and watch this now. And yeah, like I think we probably just about deserved it. It wasn't a great game of football, but you score 2 cracking goals like that, you're going to win. And I'd been saying it the whole week before I was confident we were going to beat them. Like, I don't understand the nerves and the tension, especially Hibs at Hampden. Like I said it, I knew we'd get the win. I knew it.
Well, yeah.
Anyway.
Well then, man, all good from there. And like we said, we have got a Scottish Cup final to look forward to, which doesn't make these last like sort of 5 games that we have to play completely pointless. But then again, completely pointless at the same time. But however, we can move swiftly on to the game that was held at Tannadice just on Sunday there, where, like I said, beforehand, Hearts were victorious in a 3-2 win over in Dundee. So just to kind of start off, Alan, there was 4 changes to the team, which is to kind of be like expected, with the main players like so as it was in the team that have been starting pretty much every single week throughout the season. It was a kind of right to rest some of those players as well. Like apart from, was it Craig Gordon? Because lo and behold, what would happen and has happened in the past. So thank God that did not happen. Just to kind of talk about the actual starting lineup, like as well, were you kind of surprised that they're because we talked about this like a few weeks back as well, were you kind of surprised that there was more sort of first team players starting for the Dundee game, and maybe like sort of not enough like sort of youngsters as well to actually just kind of like was like a kind of build up their sort of own confidence like as well, but because again I think that's a lot of what Hearts fans have been talking about like as well throughout the past sort of few years as well, where there's not been enough youth trying to break in to the first team.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think we had a couple of young players on the bench, Rafi, and I can't remember the second one, but anyway, I think it's funny because like we said it before that we'd like to see some young players given a chance, but I think Robbie's kind of looking at it going, okay, like you said, these games are meaningless in terms of the table, but the momentum and the positivity that wins can get makes them not as meaningless, if you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and plus I think the youth team have got a Scottish Cup youth final coming up this weekend, actually, I think it is. In fact, anyway, doesn't matter when it is, but it's soon. They're in the youth cup final, which is amazing. So he might have thought, well, do you know what, I'd rather just keep them there rather than bringing them up to the first team and kind of doing that.
Yeah.
But in terms of the team for Dundee United, I was happy with it, because I think, like I said, you have to rotate. You have to give players that haven't played a lot, you've got to give them chances. I think the likes of like McKenneth and Gino and GMS, they came back in, and because these are the games, you've got a cup final coming up. These are the games that they're going to have to impress and to say, well, I've not played a lot this season, but I can do something. Put me in the final,
Of course, man. Of course. I mean, just to kind of start off from that, like as well, like we'll have a few like sort of like the players that have featured like in the game. I think we're gonna kind of have a bit of a disagreement, but like you said to me like a few days ago that you weren't particularly impressed. Not like sort of as a whole throughout the whole game, but you weren't particularly convinced from the performance from Gianelli in the first half. I'm going to have to kind of be inclined to kind of disagree. I thought throughout the first half in the game as a whole, I thought he did quite well. I thought he's kind of taken on. I don't know if he's kind of seen it like himself, but like I saw echoes of what Mackay does, where he likes to kind of like sort of like start out from the wings and then just kind of breeze through in like sort of to the middle. I think one thing I do like agree with what you said. Even though we brought him in as kind of a winger, I think he's kind of like gradually came out of that role where he's maybe kind of more effective in the places that we've tried them out, like sort of i.e. like that sort of center striker, like as such, where I think he's like in the odd times that he's played there, like I think he's done actually quite well. But yeah, you weren't particularly convinced by his first half performance, no?
I wasn't, purely because, and I've said this about Gino before, I really rate Gino, I do, but he's just such a frustrating player to watch sometimes, and you just think you can do more when you're in that certain situation. When he's one-on-one against a defender, I'm literally watching the game thinking, just try and beat him, take the guy on, like try and take the ball past him. But it's almost like a confidence thing. And to be fair to him, he grew into it massively in the second half. But yeah, there were so many moments in that first half where he was getting into good positions, and I'm going, right, beat someone or find a pass or do something. And he would just kind of freeze a little bit, and it was almost like he didn't know what to do next. But as I said, he got better as the game went on, and that was the main thing.
Aye, but like, are you kind of referring to the first goal, like that we scored, like where, like he got himself in out of the box, but then like he had like sort of one or two like sort of the defenders like in front of him, yeah.
Yeah, but there were other moments like earlier than the goal where he was given the ball and it was like, right, run, just run with the ball at your feet, run at people, be direct, because that's what he can do. And I've said it about him before, that when he's direct and when he's got the ball and when he's running at people, he can be a game changer. Like I don't deny that, because he's got pace, he's rapid, like he'll get in behind, and he did it in the second half as we saw. But I just think there's maybe a bit of kind of decision making on his part that he needs to work on, and maybe that's a positional thing more than anything else. But no, I'm not going to be critical of him, because I actually thought he did very well in the second half. I don't know whether somebody had a little word with him at halftime, but yeah, he's just such a frustrating player to watch. And I have a preference for wingers, as you know. I love a winger. Like from my previous days as a nippy left winger for all of 5 minutes that I actually played any football. So I tend to be a bit more critical of wingers than anybody else. But yeah, like he grew into it, and that was the most important thing.
That's fair enough, man. That's fair enough. Well, obviously, like I mean, since we're on the topic, like because I know that it wasn't the first goal that was actually scored in the game, but again, I thought in that sort of moment, I thought Janelli did well to get in to the box. I thought he held it up quite well, because like at that time, like there was no Hearts player to actually give like the ball to. So like he played it back out, and then the ball found itself to Atkinson, who played a lovely ball in, like sort of was in to the 6-yard box. And like we said before, it doesn't matter how it goes in as long as it goes in. And I think just watching it back, like I think it was Boise's chest, I think it was, or something like that just bounced it in. I don't even care, but
yeah, could have been.
Yeah. So so that brought us back onto level terms as well. So yeah, like I mean, of course that was I think it was in the 44th minute. I think it was beforehand, but again, like like it's just like while we're on the like in the topic of the goals as well, I think I've got to give credit to 2 of the Dundee United goals that were scored. I thought for the first one, I thought Levitt, I think that was his name. I thought he did quite well to pretty much skin like like the Hearts the defenders, and to put it like away like that. Like I thought it was a well like sort of taken goal. And like obviously like of course Ryan Edwards as well. Am I right in saying that he scored like a raker like against us, like sort of when we played at Castle, like or something like that as well? So he's got.
I think he did. Yeah, I think he did.
I had
that in my head as well. I had a feeling that he certainly scored one like that earlier in the season. Whether it was against us or not, I don't know. But yeah, they we've kind of gone a wee bit round the houses there, but
Yeah.
even like their first goal, like we hadn't even started.
Mm.
Like we hadn't even started
Like,
the
wake
game.
up.
And then
Come on,
yeah,
boys. Sorry.
but I really like that Dylan Levitt that they've got. He's on
Mm.
loan from Man United, I think. He's a cracking little player.
Mm.
Welsh international. We had our own, obviously, former Welsh international come on the pitch after 15 minutes because McKenneth got injured. I was gutted for McKenneth to get injured,
Yeah,
to
I
be
know.
honest. I was actually, like, when I saw his name on the team sheet, I was like, great, a run in the centre of the pitch next to Haring, brilliant. And then 15 minutes in, he gets an injury and has to go off.
Boom, gone.
But Ben Woodburn came on, and yeah, there was, yeah, I don't
Critical
know.
of all players, especially this man, aren't you, Alan?
I again, I'm going to use my saying. There's a player in there. There is a player in there, and
There's a player in
I,
everyone. Like literally, if you met my 87 fucking year old downstairs, sorry, was it downstairs neighbor? You'd probably think fucking there's a player in there, Alan.
but no, he came in right, and I was actually when I saw McKenneth go down, I thought, right, Devlin's on the bench. We'll surely bring Devlin on because it's a sensible change to make.
Yeah, sensible option.
But then obviously I saw Woodburn getting ready and coming on, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then to be fair to him, he came on, and we've been quite critical of Woodburn, as have others, in recent weeks and months, because he's not done anywhere near what we expected him to do when he
No.
arrived. But maybe that was a little bit unfair of the fans' expectations of him. I don't know, but anyway, he came on against Dundee United, sat next to Haring, and actually did okay. Played a few good forward passes, got himself involved further up. Wasn't really keen on making tackles, wasn't really keen on trying to win the ball back, but that's not really his game. So yeah, I think from a Ben Woodburn point of view, I would certainly give him pass marks for that performance. Probably nothing spectacular, but maybe a solid
No.
6 or 7 out of 10, I would say. But I mean, it's nice to actually see that, because I think, right, you know, it's a whole different conversation we can have about Ben Woodburn, and we'll probably have it towards the end of the season when we're going through the player reviews and things. But I was just pleased it came on and actually did something, which was nice. It's a nice change.
Agreed on that, Alan. Agreed. Well, of course, like we said, like we did, like for the first half, we did kind of start to grow into it as we always do. Like like before we scored the equalizer, like we had a few chances, like as well, like I'm sure, like before he went off, Mac Kenneth was it how did we have chance as well, like to tie the box, but like I said, we did slowly start to get into it, and like as ever to get a goal like sort of before the first half ended, then like I mean, like it kind of set us up like in front of the next half, and then our man as well, the most frustrating player, as you said, in the team right now. I mean, before we talk about his goal, also a man that we've said like all season has kind of went about his business very quietly. Of course, at the same time, like his form has kind of been a bit like of a wave, but I think overall, I think he's done quite well. And that beautiful ball from Alex Cochrane, it was a really good ball, and you don't really see him trying to play like long balls in that sense, where like you more see him just trying to bomb down like the left hand side, etc. Like as well, but it was a really sort of was it Haring-esque ball, and like was it just to add to that, like as well, I thought Janelli did quite well to keep it under like his stride and go like around the Dundee United goal keeper, and then to just calmly just pop it into an empty net as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think, as I've said about Gino, I think that his biggest strength is his pace and his directness. And we saw that in the second half. That the goal was a perfect example. I think and this feeds into the frustrating Gino context, but I think he needs to be playing against an opposition that he can take advantage of. I think that's the thing. And I think Dundee United at that point, they kind of pushed up a little bit and left the space for Gino to run into. Not everybody's going to do that.
No.
But Alex Cochrane, yeah, it was a fantastic pass. He just looks up, obviously sees the space and goes, right, well, this ball's going in behind and Gino will run onto it and he will get there. And he did. And it was a very composed finish. Couldn't have missed it, to be honest. Couldn't have missed it. But yeah, it got us back in the lead. And I think at that point I was kind of, it was coming, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah, no, I
felt like I felt like aside from the first 5-10 minutes of the game, I felt like we controlled most of it. Don't quite know what happened to Dundee United. They started so quickly and then just kind of ran out of steam. But no, I mean we deserved to be ahead at that point.
Yeah, no, man, and I could not agree more. Like I've talked about, like the Ryan Edwards goal. I was about to say that was probably the best goal of the game, but that's I mean, arguably, possibly not, like from like two the different context, but we'll have to talk about this man in a bit more depth, Alan. The rocket, the fire, the brimstone that is Ellis Sims. Again, like almost replica of the semi-final rocket against Hibs as well. I don't know what's kind of happened with him. Like I know that he's been scoring like a few goals beforehand, but he just kind of just sparked like like into life, like throughout the last few weeks, and not just on top of what he can do off of the ball, where he's like very strong, like he holds it up well. He's not afraid to get like sort of in like amongst the mix, like as well, like against the other the defenders, like as well, and not just down to like his goal scoring, but like from anywhere, he just seems to be just fucking firing at it. And again, like even though we've not seen it for quite a long time, it's just that big target man that Hearts have not particularly seen for quite a long time. And I think, when we talk about, if we want to try and keep him in for next year, like obviously, like I know it's kind of out of our hands as well with the utter mess that's happening down with Everton as well. But like we both said as well, like I don't think it's kind of up to us if we want to try and keep them or not. I think it's down to the fact that whatever happens to them down down south as well, because like of course if Everton get put in to the championship, then obviously like with a whole load of things like was it for finances and restructuring of like of Everton, like if they do go down, I think if they see that if Sims is in quite a good form, then you and I said that most likely the option is for they'll probably say to him, right, well, instead of just trying to get somebody else new in, we'll take him back.
I think so. I think as well that like you got to remember as well that he played in the Premier League forever this season. I can't remember if he started or he came off the bench, but it was earlier in the season. They had some injuries and they brought him on. So they've obviously been keeping an eye on him. It's not a loan where they're saying, right, go out and play because we don't have a plan for you.
No, of course.
But I think it's a really, really difficult one because Robbie is talking about it and saying, we'd love to keep him. He's been amazing. He's done really well. I think it's, I have this, I call it Jimmy Dunn syndrome, where you instantly fall in love with a lone player, and
when this obsession with Jimmy Dunn, like don't get me wrong, like I do think like he did well for us, but like I don't know what this obsession for most Hearts fans was.
Mate,
like with Jimmy fucking Dunn. Like,
do you know what it was? Do you know what it was? I think it's when players come in on loan and they just get it. They just understand.
Aye.
And I think I mean, I could couple Alex Cochrane into it as well, like Alex Cochrane's celebrations after both goals, both derbies
Yeah.
rather. That just elevated him for me. But no, Sims is a player that I really, really hope we can keep.
Oh, 100%.
I think the biggest thing for Sims, or the biggest thing about Sims for me, is that I think it's really funny because you look at him and you think, right, he's a big, powerful striker. Probably not that great with the ball at his feet, maybe not that quick because he's a big, bulky guy, but he's got everything. Like, he can run and he can do that. Like I was saying about Ginnelly running in behind, Sims can do that. He's quick. He's got good control. He's the perfect striker for Scottish football because he is big and physical. He can handle himself, but he's also got the technical ability to do really, really well.
Yeah, 100%.
Like you said about Everton, their situation will sort itself out one way or the other.
Yeah.
If they get relegated, as you said, I would imagine that there'll be a clear out of all their players on stupid money and players that don't want to play in the Championship, which is fair enough. Sims might look at that and go, right, there's an avenue for me to play for Everton. But equally, Robbie Nielsen might be saying to Everton, we're going to be playing in Europe next year.
Precisely.
We're guaranteed Europe till at least Christmas, I think it is, or maybe November.
Yeah.
Group stage football, so that's amazing. So they might, Robbie might say, look, give us him for another year, and when you have him back after that, you'll have a player that's ready to go into your team regardless of what level you're at, be it Premier League or Championship. But there's also the other element of there might be other clubs in England that look at him and go, what's this guy done up in Scotland? He's bagged, I think it's 6 goals now, maybe?
I think so, yeah, something like that.
And they might go, well, the standard of football in the Championship in England is better than the Scottish Premier League. Why don't we try and get him on loan? Or do you know what I mean?
I know, I get you.
It's a really, really interesting conversation to have. And I think we have a good relationship with Everton, obviously, after the Benny transfer as well. So hopefully there's some positive conversations going on. Sims seems to be enjoying himself. And he's making an impact. And the goal against Dundee United, we didn't even really speak about the goal against him.
No,
what an absolute rocket that was.
Ridiculous.
But yeah, the Dundee United goal, I think we haven't even mentioned Barry Mackay either.
I mean, maybe we have to, Alan, because he just kind of going about his business as Craig Gordon does. Anytime you see something spectacular or something ridiculously impressive that nobody else sees, you're like, that's just what he does. That's just what he does.
Just Barry, isn't it? But
just Barry.
He just plays a great pass, and Sims makes that run that he's made countless times, where he sort of runs on the inside, and he doesn't. I think the biggest and most impressive thing about the goal for me is he doesn't even touch it. It's a first-time finish, and he absolutely rifles it. There's not a goalkeeper in the league that saves that.
No,
it was an unbelievable finish, and I mean that kind of set us up to just kind of coast through the rest of it. But yeah, I in short, obviously, before this goes out, this is we've got Ross County this weekend coming at Tynecastle, and we're featuring in the matchday programme where I've basically written about the loan players that we have at the club this season and what I'd like to see next season. So that'll be in the programme for the Ross County fixture. So give it a read if you fancy.
Please do.
And that kind of sums it up for me. I think Sims, Cochrane, even Taylor Moore, who we haven't even spoken about, by the way, he played and did very well as well.
He did, yeah.
But yeah, it's nice to have. I think just even the loan signings this season have been sensible.
Yeah, definitely.
We always talk about the recruitment of Joe Savage and all that, and sometimes you can get away with loans maybe not working, like Ben Woodburn, for example. But the majority of them have all come in and slotted in incredibly well, which is why the likes of Cochrane and Sims, I've got Jimmy Dunn syndrome. I'm telling you, I don't want them. I don't want them to leave. I don't want them to leave.
Oh man, well, time will only tell, Alan. Time will only tell. But since you just have brought it up there, we can end the podcast on the Ross County predictions. Again, we probably had the same sort of views before the Dundee United game. I'm honestly not that arsed about it, but like we may as well have a look into it. So again, I think for me, it's going to be short and sweet, just pretty much the like the same. Again, I know it's like quite pointless as well, like in terms of the league position, but again, I think obviously I know that we've still got Celtic and the Rangers to play, but for me personally, if these games are going to be a kind of meaningless as such, I would love to see us get to that 70-point mark. I know that I think the most we can get, I can be corrected like if I'm wrong, but I think the most we can accumulate in terms of points is 72, I believe. So if we're to get like a draw from the Old Firm, like sort of each, to, like I said, to get that 70-point mark, or my personal favorite 69, then like I'd be absolutely delighted, mate. But yeah, so I'm not like really like expecting much against Ross County. I would expect us to absolutely shag them. Yeah, I'm not too particularly arsed like about what the scoreline will be, as long as we hump them. And yeah, like again, like I think, like you said at the start, Alan, I think a bit more of a rotation, like as well, like you said, like for players to try and in the press as well, to like for like the final, like as well, coming up as well. So yeah, I would love to see a bit more of what we did up in Dundee, and I am going to go for a 3-0 win.
Nice. I think it's funny because, like I said at the start, I think we speak about these games as being kind of meaningless or pointless or whatever. They are, to an extent,
yeah,
because obviously third is done. But what I really like, and it's something I meant to say earlier, but it's just come back into my head now, is the way that Robbie Nielsen is kind of talking about these games.
Yeah.
It'd be very easy for him to come out and go, we've achieved our objective for the season, finishing third. Yeah. We can, I'm not going to say that he's going to say, oh, we can just be on the beach for the rest of the season, because that's not what he would say. But for him to come out and say that no game is meaningless because fans expect wins, that's the mentality that you want. That's how I want the club to be. I want Hearts to win every game. Like, we historically have not been good in league splits because most of the time we've got nothing left to play for, so the players just go sod it and just have a rest for 5 weeks. But I think Ross County are a decent little team, to be fair to them. I like that Charles Cook boy. They've got Hungbo as well, who's another forward that they have. They've got Ross Callahan that used to play for Hearts, of course. And yeah, they've got a few little dangers, but I think we'll win. I think we'll win. I'm going to go for a 2-0 win.
Fair enough, Alan. Fair enough. And of course, like, because we didn't update our head-to-head for last week against Dundee United, we will obviously like updated this week with only 5 games to go, and including the final like as well. Still hoping this forfeit is not for me, but of course time will tell, and time will tell. So yes, I think that kind of kindly brings us to the end of the Since I Was Young podcast, episode 48. Again, we do know that this was a relatively shorter one, but we do hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. So thank you all to watching as always, and of course as well, just to recap, if you're not subscribed to the Since I Was Young podcast via YouTube, please think about subscribing and smash that like button. As always, if you want to get in contact with us via our socials as well, you're more than free to do so. They will be on screen and in the description, as well as our personal email address, sinceIwasyoung1874@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to get in contact with either myself or Alan, please feel free to do so with our links to our Twitter pages in the description. So that is it from me and Alan. We do hope you enjoyed the rest of your week, and for all those that are going to the game, we do hope you have yourself a cracking time, and we shall see you in the next one. You take care. Bye for now.